What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to the Morning View, where we are going to be chatting about the latest going-ons in the world of Manchester United. Stories, transfer updates, rumours, debate, discussion, all that fun stuff on the road to the FA Cup final this Saturday. You can see it right there to the right of me on the screen. Saturday, 1 PM, we'll be live here on United View for the match view. KG and myself. How is everybody doing, though? Are we all doing good? It's an interesting time, isn't it? It's an interesting time because, you know what, I woke up this morning, as I always do, well, hopefully, because otherwise, you know, that would be quite alarming if I didn't. Well, I wouldn't even know, actually. Bit of a sidebar already. But I woke up this morning, checking out the Manchester United news, seeing what's going on in the world of Manchester United. And it's a little bit quiet, and maybe it's the calm before the storm, if you will. Of course, Saturday, FA Cup final, Wembley, European football or not, a trophy or not. Erik ten Hag, his future may or may not be on the line. A lot of players, their last game for Manchester United too. And it does feel like, isn't it, maybe now is the time to take a breath. Maybe now is the time to take a breath and just go, big couple of days coming up, big couple of weeks coming up. Now's the time to take a bit of a breath. Maybe that's what we'll do this morning. But big up to everybody in the chat. I can see people filing in straight away already. I can see people saying, like Sean, saying, big up Owen for always being on the front line of UV and never letting us down. Never let you down, Sean. Big up to you. Big up to all of the members in the chat too. PJ says, what is the plan for the FA Cup final? What, for Manchester United? Or for Erik ten Hag, or for us, for United View anyway. We're going to be live, as always, 2 hours before kickoff, as we always are. So kickoff's 3 o'clock on Saturday, isn't it? So we'll be live at 1 PM. KG and myself bringing in the team news. Flex is going to be at the stadium. He's going to have all of the fan views, player ratings, etc., etc., etc. So that's the plan for us, for Manchester United. Well, Flex and myself kind of touched on this yesterday when it came to, you know, some of the plans that Ten Hag may or may not utilise in the FA Cup final, but that will come later on in the week. We'll have previews, we'll have discussion, we'll have all that good stuff as we get closer. As I said, at the moment, it's kind of just like, oh, breathe. Just breathe a little bit. What else are people saying here at the moment? Sarah says, evening from Melbourne, I think that is. JB says, poor from this UV side. Poor. I do actually have the Kenny sound effect. Here we go. Kenny's got his own page on my soundboard. They're like literally divided and organised by pages. So if you want to do Kenny, you can go
poor, and I mean poor.
Is it woeful?
Absolutely woeful. Absolutely woeful.
Or just disgraceful?
Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah. Kenny's he's got his own page. Yeah, he's got the sound bites locked in. Big up to him. Be sure to smash the like button, by the way, guys. You know the polls in the chat at the moment. Have you hit the like button? Yes, or doing it now? So as people file in, click that like button. Let's see if we can get the 500 likes this morning. And whilst you're at it too, be sure to subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, just over 500 to go into 168,000. And now is the time to subscribe. My goodness me, is there a lot coming in the next few months. Of course, there's the Euros. There's also the transfer window. There's also pre-season tour. There is so much stuff coming in the next few months at United View. So if you haven't already, now is the time. Now is the time to do it, and make sure you click those notifications. You'll be notified every time we go live or a new video is uploaded. What we're going to be talking about this morning? Well, we're going to be talking a little bit about Luke Shaw. An interesting story coming out last night regarding his fitness, and he's not going to be available for the FA Cup final on Saturday, but he could be available for the Euros. So we'll be chatting about that, and it probably is a good time to open up the conversation a bit more about Luke Shaw, his longer-term future at Manchester United. How does that factor into transfer plans this summer? So we'll be chatting about that. We'll also be talking about these Roberto De Zerbi rumours that have been kind of bubbling, shall we say, over the last sort of 24 hours. A bit of contrasting and conflicting information, conflicting reporting, conflicting quotes coming from Zerbi himself, and then reports in Italy, and a lot of speculation on that. So we'll touch on that. And also, just in the last couple of minutes, I did also see that Fabrizio Romano has tweeted something about Benjamin Šeško. So we'll be chatting a little bit about him, and also, once again, just about the striking situation at Manchester United. What do we need to do when it comes to a lot of transfers in the summer? So as I said, there's still plenty to get into, and of course, if anything happens whilst we're live, we'll talk about it. It's the beauty of being live, isn't it? So let's start off talking about Luke Shaw and these quotes that came out, with the story that came out last night from the Standard, saying that Luke Shaw is set to get a nod as part of the squad of around 30 players to be announced on Tuesday. It is seen as a way of proving his fitness to Gareth Southgate ahead of Euro 2024. Now, once again, Luke Shaw is not going to be available for the FA Cup final this Saturday. Well, to be fair, Ten Hag said that Shaw had a very small chance, very, very small chance. He's been out of action since we played Luton, since we limped off against Luton. When was that, by the way? When did we play Luton away? Luton versus Man United. That was February. My God. So he's been out of action since Feb. And even before that, of course, we played Aston Villa, didn't we? We played Villa, and he limped off, and it was like, Shaw's injured. And then when he was named in the starting lineup against Luton, it was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? It was like, I thought Shaw was hurt. Then he limped off. And at the time, if I'm recalling this correctly, at the time, I think the reports were essentially, well, Shaw's out. He's going to be out for a few months, but the hope is that he's going to be back, or he'll be back before the end of the season. He'll play a part. I think that was didn't even Ten Hag say that himself in a couple of press conferences? He'll play a part in the end of the season. And then next thing you know, end of the season comes. You only a couple of games left. One game left. No games left. FA Cup final is the only game that's left. And you hear that, no, he's not going to be available. He suffered a setback. And when it comes to the England stuff first, I know sometimes that people can get quite annoyed about this kind of stuff when it happens, because they can perhaps roll their eyes and they hear what they get echoes of what Wayne Rooney was saying, don't they, a few weeks ago on Sky Sports, saying there's a couple of these guys that can play and a couple of these guys that can be available. They're not available. If he's available for England, what does that mean about his situation at Manchester United, etc., etc.? I don't look at it too much, because even the report there, the suggestion is that he might be named in that squad. Who knows if he's even going to play? I mean, if you recall, Luke Shaw, whilst he's been dealing with an injury this season already, has gone to the England national team setup to help himself recover from that injury. I don't probably blame him getting away from the Manchester United medical department, do you? But he's gone there to try and rehabilitate it. So clearly there's been a lot of dialogue between him, Gareth Southgate, and his team to see what his fitness situation is like. I lean into the situation of he probably won't be ready for the Euros, in all honesty. Because even if you were, Gareth Southgate or whatever, this is a guy, again, he hasn't played any football since February. And I'm always really reluctant. Sometimes you hear these stories going into national tournaments, regardless of, which country you support, that when they'll be like this, he's not played all season, and he won't be available maybe until like the knockout stages of the tournament, but they've named him anyway. When does that turn out well? when does that ever turn out well from a fitness point of view? They're never fully fit. I mean, it's like when it happened with Rooney, I think was it 2006 with his foot that he did when he did it against Chelsea. Happened with Beckham as well. Like that, that never works out well. So and you would only do it if it was like Harry Kane for England. We need him, because if he's even half fit on the pitch, he could score goals. Luke Shaw, not so much. So I still lead into that he might not get included. But just the wider conversation about Luke Shaw at Manchester United and his future, we're getting a left back in the summer. if we go through this summer and we don't sign a left back, I will be flabbergasted. Absolutely flabbergasted I will be if we don't get left back this summer, because we've played, obviously you factor in this season and the current circumstances, but then you have to take a step back and look at the, you have to look at the much bigger, wider picture, don't you? And if you look at this season, we haven't had a left back all season. Luke Shaw has been out for a lot of the campaign. Thuram Malacia has been out for the whole of the campaign. We had Regulion, as KG would call him, and we sent him back in January because the advice given to Erik ten Hag was, we'll have left backs back for the second half of the season. Don't have to worry about it. Get sent back. No left back. So with that being said, with having a Thuram Malacia that's coming back from a really, really serious knee problem, that you don't know what kind of player is going to return at this stage. I mean, he's had a couple of different knee operations, hasn't played for a whole season. I mean, hopefully he can get back to where he was at before, because you don't want to see anyone, his career come to an end or come back and be a shell of the player they once were. But it's pretty serious stuff when it comes to Malacia. So just for that, you're going to need another left back. And then also, you just have to look at consistency. You know me, one of my biggest frustrations when you're talking about football players is if you have to do that, if he's fit part, whether it's a prefix or a suffix, whether you have to put it at the beginning of the beginning of the sentence or the end of the sentence, irrespective. If you have to do that, if he's fit, it's already a bit of a problem. It's already a bit of a problem because that implies more often than not they're not fit. Luke Shaw, granted, a couple of his injuries, big bad injuries, the leg break, of course, under Louis van Gaal, can't do much about that, but his fitness record is what it is, isn't it? I mean, it's under 50% of the games, I think it is, over the 10 years or so that he's been at Manchester United. And you have to keep the same energy. You have to keep the same energy with him that you do with Martial and others, which is, unfortunately in football, one of the best abilities is availability, and he's not available. And for Erik ten Hag, when he's talking about consistency and and patterns of play and to get into these routines, as he called them, you need people that are consistently available. And if we came out of this summer transfer window and he still had the left backs of Luke Shaw, or Luke Shaw was his still starting left back, you'd be like, you know that he's not going to be available the whole time this summer. Into next season. So we need something else. We need someone else, and whoever that next person is, we need to make sure they're consistently available. Now, in fairness, I think Malacia, when he came into United, I don't think his fitness record was that bad, was it? So stuff can happen. Let me have a look at Malacia's injury record, because again, unless I'm mistaken, it wasn't horrible. So yeah, so in this season alone, he's missed more games than he had his entire career combined. That says a lot, doesn't it? So even if you do your due diligence, sometimes things can happen. That's a bit of bad luck. But when it comes to Shaw, I don't expect him to leave in the summer. That would be the other thing I would say. I don't expect him to leave, but I think what Man United need to do is they need to move him. They need to move him into a different role in the team of just going, right, and unless you can prove that you can stay fit for the majority of the time, then you're going to be in the backup role, or it's going to be 50-50. And and this is the frustrating thing too, isn't it? This is the frustrating element of that left back position this season. If there was and it's not about gassing up Alvaro Fernandez or anyone like that, or even if Regulon had stayed, you just go, well, that spot would have been yours. that spot would have been yours. Whoever was here, it would have been theirs, and you never know what could have happened with that. So it's incredibly frustrating. But for sure, we need a new left back. We need to move on from that. Like I said, I don't expect him to leave in the summer, but I think that it. And again, depends what this sort of recruitment structure looks like at this point with the head coach, because it probably will be a head coach, and Jason Wilcox and Dan Ashworth. they surely will look at the data involved there, and they'll surely liaise with the head coach and say, we need to fix that area. We need to fix that area. We need someone that's more consistently available. And look, maybe if Luke Shaw's playing less games, maybe he might, miraculously be more available. I don't know, but we need to just one of several priority positions that we need to fix this summer. I mean, you can go across a lot of that back four, and there's an argument to me that we need to recruit for every position there. Left back, starting left back, we'll need at least one centre back. You think? Well, Varane leaving, so definitely. Chances are another centre back's going to go, so that's two. You're looking at right back. Probably Wan-Bissaka, he might go, so you've got to get then a backup right back. So you've already recruited 4 defenders across that back four, let alone getting into the midfield. If Casemiro goes, which you would think is a likely situation, need to get a new central midfielder, long-term partner for Kobbie Mainoo. And also there might be other replacements because other people might go in that midfield. Then you're looking forwards and you're going, need another striker, definitely. We've also been linked to Elise, that's the right-hand side. So there is just so much to do this summer. But a big priority position has to be the left-back spot. We cannot go through another season of not having a left-back. No team could be able to pull that off. No left-back all season, none. And we need to figure that out. And that's not also to say that just because we get a new left back, that we just ignore all the other stuff. You know, the medical department, the match tactics, the training levels and intensities as well. All of that still needs to be evaluated. All that still needs to be looked at. But at the same time, left back, absolute priority in the summer. So, sure, I think, did they say that the England squad announcement is today? Did they say that was midday or something? We'll see. Obviously, that list can be cut down. I think it's 30. Some people were saying yesterday it could be cut down to 26. Is it 26 people in that squad? And I wouldn't be shocked. If Shaw was cut out of that. But we shall see what happens there. A couple of super chats here. Amanor says, Owen, have you heard about the Fonseca manager rumours? I did hear that yesterday. We'll talk about the Zerbi stuff in just a second. We're going to get a lot of this, aren't we? We're going to get a lot of this in the build-up to the final. We're going to get a lot of this in the fallout to the final as well, depending on what happens. And the managerial market at the moment, I've said it a lot over the last couple of days, it's just, it's wild. I can't recall a time like it. I can't recall a time when just in a couple of days prior, it seems like nobody's moving anywhere. And then suddenly everyone's moving anywhere. And that was kind of my point I was making previously, that there's still stuff to happen. And it does just feel like just when you think you know all the answers to what's going on, the managerial market changes all the questions. And once again, you're like, well, I have no idea now who's going where. So, and also factor into that with Ineos, we don't really have a point of reference with when Ed Woodward's running the club, or when it's Richard Arnold and John Murtough, and when the Glazers, you know, they're still in control, obviously. They still have the majority of Manchester United. But when they're running football operations, we kind of have a point of reference of what they're going to do. Whereas Ineos, we still don't know. We still don't have that point of reference of, they'll probably act like this. It's all speculation at this point. Nobody really knows. Akash says, controversial. I'd keep Shaw and convert him into a left centre-back. Well, even with that, because obviously Shaw has played left centre-back a couple of times for United and done well. I remember when we played Man City in the Manchester derby at Old Trafford last season, he played centre-back alongside Varane, and he was very, very good. You could convert him into left centre-back, but the problem is, the fitness issues are still the same, aren't they? You could argue, well, you know, because he's not playing full-back and he's not up and down, might save him a bit of wear and tear. He might avoid some muscular injuries, perhaps. But at the same time, he still picks up injuries. So the fitness issues for me wouldn't necessarily go away. And like I said, I don't think he's going to go in the summer. Maybe that is his role next season. Maybe that his role next season is just a player that's more often on the bench. If there has to be rotation, he can be brought on as a centre-back, as a left-back, something like that. Don't think he'll go, but I think he needs to be phased into a backup role because we need reliability and we need consistency at this point. That's what we need, and I don't think we get that with Luke Shaw. Doesn't mean bad player. Doesn't doubt his quality, but you know, we need consistency. After a season of no consistency and no availability, we need that. We've got close to 900 people watching, which is fantastic. 230 likes if we can get that up to 300. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right hand corner. You can also see in the chat right there, you can follow United View on playback. By the way, that was a lot of fun. We did the full view last night, and then Flex and myself did the full view extra on playback. And we decided just to do some quizzes. And it was fun. I think what we'll probably do next time, we might get some people involved, whether it's more people on from the full view panel or what have you, or some of you guys who were calling in. We did have Lux Hill call in, although there was speculation that Lux Hill may have cheated. Yeah, might have cheated. When we were doing the quizzes, we would say you can't look at the chat for obvious reasons. And what did he get? He got... someone let me know in the chat. There was some club that he got, and everyone went, that was out of left field, very much out of left field. And everyone went, I don't know about that. They said it was too random. There was a lot of speculation going on with it, so I don't know. Reading, that was it. Court Star, thank you. Reading, out of nowhere, and everyone went, it's not too much of a coincidence. So there's a lot of speculation going on about the cheating involved in that. 115 charges to Lux Hill. But it was a lot of fun. It was. We were doing like name every Premier League club that's ever played in the league. There was naming the England 2018 World Cup squad. There was naming the starting lineup for England against Italy in Euro 2012. There was naming the nicknames of all the Premier League clubs this season. There's loads more you can do. So, yes, if you haven't already, follow us on Playback. I think we're going to be doing something on Playback tonight. If it's not a Flex and KG Extra, it'll be something else. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun there. A lot of fun. And although it did really legitimately, like my brain hurt after doing that. You do all of those quizzes, and because you're going back through the sort of your memories, and you're really sort of searching, you're like indexing your mind, like you're going through like a filing cabinet like that. Go, afterwards, honestly, my head hurt. I was like, oh, I can't think of any more. It was really draining, but it was a lot of fun. So yes, follow us on Playback, and you can see a lot more stuff there. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming up with the Euros and all that kind of stuff. So yes, follow us there if you haven't already. Right, let's talk a little bit about Roberto De Zerbi, because this is a really strange situation regarding him. So obviously, De Zerbi has left Brighton just before the game against Manchester United at the weekend. The day before, it was announced that De Zerbi was leaving. Now, he did know that De Zerbi had a release clause this summer, so it was a bit surprising just to see him suddenly up and leave. Some people had expected him to leave anyway, but the announcement now was made that he was going to be leaving was a bit odd. Now, initially, people thought he was going to be going to Bayern Munich. Very quickly, that was debunked. Now, it looks like possibly Vincent Kompany could end up going to Bayern Munich, doesn't it? And after the game, this is what De Zerbi had to say about his future. He said, "There isn't any club behind me. No one offered me a job at this stage. I hope to work in the Premier League again. I don't know where or when." So many people just assumed, oh, he just decided just to leave. He just decided to leave, and he's not going to a club. There's no offer. He just, I guess, maybe keeping his, options open, perhaps. Now, when asked what was next for him, he said, "I don't know for sure. I have to stay at home 3, 4, 5 months. For me, it should be no problem. This is because I will work studying different games, teams, and coaches. You have to build knowledge to stay on top." So many people just assumed, well, doesn't have a job offer, he's just leaving, he's just putting himself on the open market. That's what happened. That's what's happening. Well, then an interesting story came out of Italy last night from an outlet called Calcio Napoli, obviously an outlet in Naples, basically saying completely the opposite, saying that De Zerbi's clause has not lapsed, but has been reduced thanks to a gentleman's agreement between the manager and Brighton. To get the coach, there was a club that paid, the English club, Brighton, around €5 million, less than half of what was foreseen in the contract. So they're saying, no, there is still a release clause in effect. You know, he's on the free market, but there's a gentleman's agreement between himself and Tony Bloom. Now it's less than like 10 million, it's half. And an English club has already paid half. It also then said, at this moment, everything is already done, but nothing leaks from the entourage. There is maximum confidentiality about the name of the team, which he has agreed. Now, obviously, this then sent the social media rumour mill into overdrive, going, cloak and dagger conspiracy, something's going on with Roberto De Zerbi. I don't know. I mean, you're more inclined, aren't you? You're more inclined to believe the person as opposed to the outlet, because he's insistent that no, don't have a new club, don't have an offer currently out there at the moment. I'm just not here anymore. And again, you want to try and look at it all as logically as possible, don't you? In that, it is odd. I'll put it that way. It is odd. And I don't, this doesn't mean he's going to Manchester United by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, that outlet there is from Naples. I think Napoli are looking for a new manager. They haven't had a good season after winning Serie A the season prior. Could they, is it a suggestion he could go there? Although I think, isn't Antonio Conte's been linked to the Napoli job, I think, as well? I'm not sure. Or maybe he does have it. Maybe he's already agreed something. Maybe again, it's all completely done. And, he is just being completely confidential because the club that he's going to still has someone in place. I don't know. And I think the reason why Manchester United are getting lumped into all of this, the reason why people are sort of raising their eyebrows a little bit going, what's going on, is, well, it's twofold, isn't it? It's one that... It's one that, when it comes to Ineos, there have been reports that they like him. There have been reports. Well, all of those reports come out about these managers that they were looking at in the event that he was going to be, Erik ten Hag was going to be sacked. Those reports come out about De Zerbi, about Thomas Tuchel, about Graham Potter, about Gareth Southgate, etc., etc. So because of that, obviously, when De Zerbi leaves his current club, people go, oh, what's going on there? That's interesting. And I think the other part of it is because, like I mentioned earlier on, it's just because no one knows how Ineos are going to operate. The sort of small sample size that we have of how they've done their deals thus far, which is Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox, and to an extent Dan Ashworth. I mean, that's the only deals that have happened thus far, because the only ones that can be done, because obviously the transfer window wasn't open. They've been pretty quick and they've been pretty quiet. The Omar Barada one is, I think that's the point of reference, isn't it, that a lot of people point to. The Omar Barada one came out of nowhere. It really did. It was just, he's going to Man United. And he's the new chief executive. He's the new CEO. And everyone went, one, who? And two, what? That was out of nowhere. That was really quick. What happened here? That was really surprising. To an extent, the Jason Wilcox one was a little bit more protracted. But even that was like, I think it was Ornstein was the first to break the story. United are going for Jason Wilcox. And then there was a couple of weeks of rumbling on, negotiations, so they continue. But you didn't hear much. You didn't hear anything about it. You just said, oh, yeah, it's carrying on. And then next thing you know, it's done. And then an announcement came out like 5 minutes later. It was that quick about it. The Dan Ashworth one, of course, is a bit more complex because of the nature of his contract. It's going to arbitration. So that's a bit of an outlier, I suppose. But even to the extent that even recently some of these announcements, when it came to Patrick Stewart, who was the interim CEO, and some other executives leaving. When it just came out of nowhere. Oh, they've gone now, and Jean-Claude Blanc, he's the interim CEO now for Manchester United. And went, well, that came out of nowhere. Wow, what happened there? The interim CEO's gone. He's been replaced by a new interim CEO. That's an Ineos, CEO of their sort of sporting operation at Ineos Sport. Wow, that seemingly came out of nowhere. So I think because of those factors, people are trying to sort of, it's like that meme, isn't it, with all of the bits of string on the board, and they're pulling those things together. Like there's no official link, there's no official story or anything like that. But because of how Ineos have moved so far, and because of the sort of strangeness of the sort of the Zerbi situation, people are going, oh, is there something more to it? I don't know. I don't know. I would look at it more saying no. I don't think so. Like I said, I'm more inclined for if he's come out and said, I don't have a job offer, I don't have a club lined up or anything like that, I tend to believe him with that. But managers lie. Managers lie, and there could be a creative way of saying it, isn't it? Maybe he doesn't technically have a job offer. Maybe he doesn't have something lined up. That would be different to what that Italian outlet is saying there, isn't it? Of saying that, a release clause has already been paid, blah 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 blah. I don't believe that, but it's certainly interesting. And as I spoke about earlier on, this stuff with the managerial situation, it's just going to continue, isn't it? It's going to continue, obviously, in the build-up to the FA Cup final. Depending on what happens in the FA Cup final, it could continue, or it could, stop or slow down significantly. But, and we kind of touched on this yesterday on the Morning View, I think it was, of how do we think, if, let's say, because I still lean more to just looking at the lay of the land, how things are going to play out, what Man United have to do in the summer, finances, alternatives. I do lean more into Ten Hag's probably going to stay, but my prediction on that's gone back and forth a few times because the data keeps changing and the circumstances keep evolving. But as of right now, feels more like maybe he might stay and the probation period will get extended and they'll continue to assess everything. They'll wait for Dan Ashworth to come in. They'll wait for Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox to get their feet, under the table a little bit more and assess things. That's what they'll do. But if it is Eric staying, how are they going to communicate that? Is that going to be communicated by Erik ten Hag, doing an interview after the FA Cup final, going, "Yep, no, I'm going to stay. I've spoken to the people above me. We're going to move on to next season and we're going to continue to build and develop and blah, blah, blah." Is it just going to be a case of, pre-season tour starts, Eric's there, so it's like, well, if Eric's there, then I guess he's going to be sticking around. Is it going to be like that? Or does Ineos come out and say something? I don't know. I don't know. One thing's for sure, I don't think the best route to go is ambiguity, because look at what ambiguity has done to us already. All of these stories, all of these rumours, a lot of the division comes from ambiguity. Because I think that, obviously, look, there are people that are staunchly, defend Ten Hag. There are people that are staunchly, against him. There are people that are a bit confused or don't know and in the middle, and that's fine too. And when you then throw into that, this level of ambiguity, it does make you consider alternatives, because you think, well, in the event that he does go, then what do we do? Or maybe now is the time to consider an alternative or a replacement if Ineos are completely ripping things up and starting again. Like, the level of uncertainty and ambiguity doesn't help things, particularly when there is an acknowledgement, I think, by most people that the rebuild has restarted. This, whatever process started 2 years ago, it's kind of been, to an extent, aborted, and the moment that Ineos came in and brought their own people in, it started over again. So you go into, well, if we're starting over again, do we completely start over again? Or is it going to be sort of more step by step. Well, we start over again with the executives. As far as the manager, maybe now's not the time. Maybe we reassess it. But then people start going into, but then do you want to go into a season with more uncertainty? Do you want to go into a season with, again, more ambiguity? And because I know there's been those stories about Ten Hag wanting a new contract, but he's not going to get one. He's not going to get a new contract this summer. I'd be stunned at this rate, because I don't think, unless Ineos would totally set on he's the guy for us, he's the right guy, then you would give him a new contract. But I just don't think they'd paint themselves into a corner like that. I don't think they'd back themselves into a corner. And you would logically say, well, if you really thought that Erik ten Hag was the right guy, absolutely no doubt about it, then that would have been communicated already. Something would have happened about that already. If they weren't considering anyone else, it was only Eric was on their mind, then something would have happened regarding that already. Whether it is a new deal as a statement of intent, or whether it is completely Sir Jim in an interview going, no, we're planning for Eric next season, we're doing this, we're doing that. It's like something like that would have happened. And it is the kind of like not really saying anything that leads to stuff like this, which is there are no concrete links to Roberto De Zerbi. There are no concrete rumours. The only development is he's left his club. He says he's not going anywhere. An Italian outlet says, oh, no, he is going to go somewhere. And people are going, oh, well, Ineos are being secret, and this feels quite secretive, so this must be it. It must be that. When really, there's not any kind of substance to anything at the moment. And then you factor in yesterday on Sky Sports News, Florian Plettenberg saying Thomas Tuchel really wants the Man United job. Basically, I mean, Florian Plettenberg went on Sky Sports News yesterday, in my opinion, with information from Thomas Tuchel and his agent, and essentially it gave a Manchester United smoke signal of come and get me. You know, his quotes were two options for Thomas Tuchel next season. He takes a break or he goes to the Premier League. And he said if he goes to the Premier League, there's only two clubs he's looking at: Manchester United and Chelsea. He feels like he's got unfinished business at Chelsea. Well, I know there is tension. At Chelsea with Poch and the hierarchy there. By all accounts, he wants to be more involved in transfers. But at the same time, it's just started to go right for them for the first time in like 2 years. They did qualify for the Europa League. I mean, you never know what they could do, but at the same time, you know, I'd be nothing surprises me with Chelsea anymore, I suppose. But at the same time, you'd be a bit sort of go, wow, Poch left, or they got rid of Poch. Who knows what they would do with that? But look, you can't rule these things out. To me, it felt like he'd just put Chelsea out there because he didn't want to seem too desperate as coming of, I want to be the Manchester United manager. So I looked at those quotes from Florian Plettenberg yesterday saying, basically, I'm available, come and get me. If you're considering someone else, come and get me. That's what I looked at that. And I know that Florian Plettenberg said there had been loose contact. Don't put too much stock in that one, honestly. Maybe there might be, you don't know which way the contact goes, by the way. So the loose contact could easily be from Camp Tuchel into Manchester United. His agent reaching out going, look, my client's available in the summer. He'd really be interested in the job. Get back to me when you can. Oh, if we do, we'll be in touch, something like that. You know, it could easily be that kind of stuff, as opposed to Manchester United reaching out to Thomas Tuchel's agent being like, hey, what's going on with Tommy T this summer? I don't know if it would be like that. But again, yesterday I looked at it more like Thomas Tuchel going, I'm here and I'd love the job if it's up for the, you know, available this summer. So that kind of stuff is there. That kind of stuff absolutely is there. And the longer that it goes on with really Ineos, I was not saying not saying anything, but not acting, or there's just this level of, well, we don't know, then this stuff's going to continue. This stuff's going to continue to roll on. So, I don't know. Honestly, I've said this the last few days now. I have no idea, really, how to predict it. I think it's 50-50. If I had to lean one way, I would lean into probably Ten Hag stays, just because there's a lot to do this summer. But at the same time, there's still more stuff to happen. FA Cup final still to happen. There's more managers to become available, or them to move in different directions. So I have no idea. And on the flip side of that, with how secretive Ineos have been and keeping things pretty close, they might have made the decision months ago. We don't know. We really don't know. It's a difficult one to call. Like I said, I lean into more likely he'll probably stay, but it's far from a certainty. Far from a certainty at all. And we'll see what happens. Super chat here from Ryan, who's a Chelsea fan, says, same at Chelsea. Don't know if Poch stays. Reports are he wants control. You could end up with Poch and we end up with Zerbi. Who knows? Well, again, the Chelsea situation, I'd be... And again, it's difficult with Chelsea because they're... with their ownership structure, who knows what Todd will decide to do with them. But you would think, wouldn't you, logically, after what they've done the last couple of years, what manager to start to get things right, got to a final and qualified for Europe this season. And it didn't look like that was on the cards for quite some time. It's almost like I think Poch is trying to use that as a bit of leverage now to get a bit more control over transfers. But I suppose they could say to Poch, well, you knew what you were signing up for when you came in. But he doesn't like that. I'm not sure. I don't think he'll go. I don't think Poch will leave Chelsea. But if he does, maybe that's where Zerbi goes. Maybe that's what, Zerbi ends up at Chelsea. Maybe that's... Again, this managerial market, I'm telling you now, Fleck, there is still more stuff to happen. There are still more things to play out. There are still more twists, more turns, more shocks. Yeah, I still truly believe that. If the last week is anything to go by with all of it, who knows? What are people saying here in the chat? As you'll be shocked to find, it's pretty mixed. It's pretty mixed. Savage says Erik ten Hag is going nowhere. Expecting a new manager will only frustrate yourself when you see Erik in pre-season. I'm not expecting anything, by the way. I don't know. I mean, that's literally what I've just said 2 seconds ago. I have no idea what to expect at this point. Just when you think it's going to go in one direction, it changes. Skiliano says if Poch leaves Chelsea, I'd take him straight away. Wow. There you go. Skiliano says he'd take Poch. Wizard says Zerbi ain't best in class. If Ineos can get the best in class manager they want out of his contract in the summer, then Erik ten Hag is done. Lloyd says sacking ten Hag and bringing in Tuchel reeks of a Glazer move. What else are people saying here at the moment? Obviously there's a lot of Ten Hag Defence League stuff in here as well. Yeah, it's very mixed, and I think again that mixture of different viewpoints comes from uncertainty. No one knows. no one has a clue. And Lil Yo-Yo, who has Lil Yo-Yo changed his name just to Yo-Yo. He's dropped the Lil at this point. He's grown up. He's just Yo-Yo. Sometimes you got to evolve. Sometimes you got to change. It's now just Yo-Yo. No longer Lil Yo-Yo. Grown up. Says 349 likes. Let's get to 500. Yes, we've got over 1,000 people watching. The poll is in the chat at the moment saying, have you clicked the like button? Yes, or doing it right now. Let's see if we can get to 500. We're 150 away, and we've got over 1,000 people watching, which is great. Yes, it says I've grown up. Maturity. No longer Lil Yo-Yo. Now Yo-Yo. Good for him. Some people, just different times of mature Yo-Yo. Okay, grown up Yo-Yo. This would be the time when lots of people create different accounts. When suddenly there's the original Yo-Yo. Maybe you'd have to change his name to like OG Yo-Yo. But then lots of different Yo-Yos start showing up in the chat, and instead of it being like a red Yo-Yo, it's like blue, green, purple, pink, or something like that. There's Lil Yo-Yo, there's Big Yo-Yo, there's Mature Yo-Yo. There's loads you could do. There's American Yo-Yo. There's whatever. Any company, any country, any person. And that's my challenge to the UV community right now. Is I hope in the next few days, next few streams, lots of different yo-yos start showing up. Lots of different variations of yo-yos. You know, anything. Use your imagination, use your creativity. All of these different yo-yos start showing up. Just like JJ says, big yo-yo, just a really big one. Tiny yo-yo, fleck yo-yo. There's just, instead of it's a yo-yo with fleck on it as well. The Kevin Gary yo-yo. All of it. And then, because then when the super chats or even the live chats start coming in, it'll be very difficult to differentiate. There's a super chat here from OG Yo-Yo. There's a super chat here from Belgian Yo-Yo. There's a super chat here from Tiny Yo-Yo. There's a super chat here from Superman Yo-Yo. It just can't keep going. Just keep going. It could, that's my challenge set. Whether it catches on. It might catch on like fire. It might just completely nothing. We'll see. I've set that challenge to you at the moment. Red One says made in China yo-yo. Like all of these different ones. The Marcel yo-yo. Yeah, all of those different ones keep showing up. I'm curious to see if people pull it off. And also, just very briefly, let's talk about Benjamin Šeško. Because there was a story coming out, this was a quote from Šeško's agent, courtesy of Fabrizio Romano, saying, Benjamin Šeško's agent, Alvis Bosanovic, says there's interest from 2 Saudi clubs, but no chance now. He's not leaving Europe. Premier League and Serie A clubs want Šeško, yes, but also RB Leipzig are trying their best to keep him with a very good proposal. Now, Šeško's agent was at Old Trafford for the Arsenal game? I think he was there for. He was there for the Arsenal game. It's been linked to Manchester United. With the Leipzig stuff, I think there was a story coming out that Leipzig had offered him a new contract or an improved contract. I don't know if this contract has a release clause or not, because obviously that's the crux of it all this summer, isn't it? Is that he's got a release clause in his contract. How much is the release clause? Let me double check this. Šeško release clause. Isn't it like 60 something? There you go. This comes from Sky Sports News in Germany, saying that Benjamin Šeško's €65 million release clause must be triggered by the end of June. So it's in €65 million triggered by the end of June, which is what, £55 million. And clearly, I think. Clearly, he's trying to drum up as much interest as he possibly can. They're trying to see all the options, aren't they? Whether they're Premier League options, whether they're to stay at Leipzig. I'd be surprised if he stayed at Leipzig with no release clause. He might, you never know, he might sign a new contract, because people forget with Šeško, he's still young. He's still a young player. How old is he? 20? 20 years old. He's 21 in 10 days' time. There you go. And there have been links to obviously United, to Arsenal, to Chelsea, to any club you can think of that's looking for a striker, really. They're interested in him. As far as Manchester United, well, we were interested in him a couple of, was it last year or the year before last? I forget when it was. We were interested in him then. He went to Leipzig. Did he go from Salzburg, I think? Yeah. Joined from Salzburg, which is a lot of times the pathway, isn't it? As far as him coming to United, it's an interesting one. Because, look, we need a striker. We need a striker in the summer because we need more than one. Rasmus Højlund cannot do it alone. Nobody can. If you're going to compete for trophies, if you're going to be successful in the Premier League, if you're just going to win football matches, you need more than one. You need more than one option. That's what we need. So come the summer, as confident as I was saying earlier on, we're going to sign a left back. I'm pretty confident we're going to get a striker. The only debate point is, well, what kind? Is it going to be, once again, a young striker that's a similar age to Rasmus Højlund? Is it going to be a striker that's in their prime, sort of 26 to sort of 30? Or is it going to be a striker that's a bit older and a bit cheaper and is just there for the backup, just there for support for Højlund to help him develop? Now, with Šeško, I would have concerns in the sense of, well, you've got 2 very young strikers there. You've got 2 strikers, both aged 21. And do you need something a bit more ready right now? Do you need someone that's ready to go, can maybe play more matches than Højlund next season. And you can have Højlund coming off the bench more often. Højlund can still play a lot of games, but you can have a situation which we have seen in the last few games. He's come on and he scored, where it's a bit like sometimes you need a different option. Sometimes with the young players, they're going to be inconsistent. That's what it's like with young players. You take them out the spotlight, you put them on the bench for a few games, you play them together with the other striker you've got, you change your shape a little bit. You need to have options. That's what has hurt Rasmus Højlund this season. There's been a lot of things that has hurt Rasmus Højlund this season. Not immune from criticism. There's certain aspects of his game he needs to improve, but he's a young player. You're never going to buy the finished article at 20 from Serie A when he scored, was it 9 goals in Serie A last season. We weren't buying the finished article, so we can't expect that. We overpaid, absolutely, but we weren't buying the finished article. Then you put him into a team that doesn't get a lot of service. That doesn't help. Then he had a few injuries, didn't have a full pre-season, of course, with Manchester United because of the back thing and how long it took to get the deal done. And then sometimes it's just a bit of bad form too, and you need to take him out. And we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to do that this season. So I lean more into that United should be looking for a more ready-made right now striker. Now, whether that is Ivan Toney's been linked, whether it is Guirassy from Stuttgart, because he's like, 27? I think so. 27. He was the second highest goal scorer in the Bundesliga this season, I think, behind Harry Kane. I think he's got a release clause that's pretty low. There you go. Fabrizio Romano saying that Guirassy's release clause is only 17.5 million euros. I mean, not bad, is it? Not bad. Not bad at all. 17.5 million euros. If you convert that to pound, that's probably like 15 million quid? Something? 15 million quid to get Guirassy, who, like I said, is he's 28 years old. This season in the Bundesliga, how many goals did he get? 28 goals, 28 games. I mean, again, it's one of those ones, isn't it? It's one of those ones with him that seems way too obvious for Manchester United to do. And also, there'd be a lot of interest pies. I mean, look, Guirassy's played 30 games this season, 28 in the Bundesliga, 2 in the cup. So that's 30 games overall. He scored 30 goals. 30 in 30 is what he did. In the Bundesliga, 28 and 28. In the DFB Pokal, 2 and 2. Not bad going. Release clause, 17.5 million euros. And he's 28, I think it was. Let me just double check that. Guirassy is 28 years old. Yeah. So that could be ready to go right there. But at the same time, as Uzi points out there, Stuttgart did do well this season. They qualified for the Champions League, didn't they? Did they finish second in the end? I think they finished second because didn't Bayern end up finishing third? So they're not even in the Super Cup. Yeah, they finished second in the end. So they'll be in the Champions League. They'll be going for their Super Cup against Leverkusen next season too. Now, something. It's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see. You would think that's because that release clause is so low. Logically, you would think, well, clubs will activate that, and then it's just up to him as to what he wants to do. Once the release clause has been activated, then they just go, well, what does he want to do? Does he want to stay another season at Stuttgart, or does he want to go? Because again, he's a bit of an older player, 28. Maybe now's the time to go try and a big club in the Premier League or something. But I'd be shocked if there wasn't a list of clubs lining up to take a look at him. And for me, it's a bit more, again, a bit less money and something that you could do quite quickly because of the release clause. Again, it's Manchester United. I have no idea. I have no idea. And then also when you're talking about, the big name strikers that are doing well in world football at the moment, we're just not going to be in for them. We're not in the Champions League. The PSR FFP situation is going to be tight because we're not in Europe. So you're going to have to look at those different options. That could be a perfect option to support Rasmus Højlund, perhaps. Whether or not it will happen, time will tell. Benjamin Šeško, 65 million euros, 55 million pounds. on the face of it, seems like a lot of money, doesn't it? And you're already starting to add up how much we're going to have to spend this summer and how many different positions we've got to recruit for. I think they're saying it, aren't they? Without player sales, it's like 100 million quid. With player sales, and hopefully there'll be considerable player sales, it might be a little bit more. So if you were to say, if adding in player sales, how much would you say United have to spend this summer? Do we make 100 million from player sales? Yeah, I think we do, at least. Because you would look at, I mean, by all accounts, United want 50 million for Sancho. Whether we'll get that or not, I don't know. Looking at Greenwood, they're saying maybe like 40 million. That's already about 90, isn't it? Then you're looking at possibly, what happens if Lindelof goes? That could be a 10. You're looking at, possibly Casemiro going. That could be, it won't be as much as 70, clearly, but it might be like 30, 20, 25. It would be low because they got to pick up his contract. But we could spend possibly 200 billion this summer. And, yeah, and then that's when you invest that money. We've got to buy a lot of players, got to sell a lot of players. It is a big summer, and we will be covering all of it here at United View. The Transfer View will be returning fairly soon. But before then, we've got just a little thing called the FA Cup Final, which is on the horizon on Saturday. Again, it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. I'll be live at 1 p.m. KG will be joining me too for the match view and all that fun stuff. What's on tap for the remainder of the day? Well, we'll have... obviously, the Flex and KG show will be coming at 7 p.m. There'll be something on playback. I don't know if it's going to be a Flex and KG extra. It might be something different, but that will be coming later on today. So if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on playback too. And then tomorrow we'll have, obviously, the morning show once again with Flex and myself. Maybe a Flex's View too. Thursday, the morning show and What the Devil. Friday, we'll have the morning show, press conference, Trinity. Powered by Dan Gore, 2024, stands on the floor, don't win games anymore. And then, of course, we'll have match day on Saturday as well. We're close to 500 likes. We've still got over 900 people watching, which is fantastic. We're currently at 425. So that's what, 74 now, 74 likes to go. So if you haven't already, click the like button. See if we can get 500 on the way out. And we'll be back later on with the Flex and KG show. I'm out of here. Peace.